They prefer to text. And they'll be the first to say, well, look, everyone texts. Look, I got a text back. They won't call me back, but they'll text me back. I get that. We're not saying don't text, but the point is, like, the only way to develop a human connection where we can feel and see their emotions is to make a phone call.
I did the things I said I was going to do, and don't break those promises with yourself. And then you do it again. And then just take it day by day. And every day you do that thing, like, then you look back, you're like, it's such a nice relief.
But if you're a workaholic, I think though it gets a bad rap is if you're a workaholic, you don't get to enjoy it, right? So like, we're not saying that. What we're saying is, my thing, we said this today in the interviews, is like, I would rather have you enjoy your job so it's something you do. Koby Sway here with Adam Briley, like always. Today we're talking about struggles. I think it's not talked about enough, right? Like, again, we talk about the successes, the wins, but what people don't talk about is behind closed doors. What are the real issues, right? Like, people always give you their Instagram best selfie, best whatever. We live in a filter society, and we thought we'd take some filters off today and talk about struggles.
Yeah, I like it. So, like, what's one struggle we can talk about? I mean, one thing we did here recently, we actually just did interviews this morning.
Yep.
On from like a business standpoint, is having like an inside financial analysts, controller,
handler.
Like making sure, like, and it's probably that's like your next big move, I think, in a business.
Yeah.
And, in hindsight, I almost wish I would have done it like 2-3 years ago, but just someone that's constantly, because again, we don't always dive into expenses. We always try to focus on increasing revenue. And, I think this is going to be a really good thing to dive into, have them looking and analyzing like all aspects of all of our businesses. And that was a struggle for us because, again, hire out the things that you don't like to do if you have that ability to do that.
Yep.
And then I truly believe, like Stacy and I were talking, like, I think by hiring this person, I feel like the candidate that we're going with, I feel really good on it.
Yeah.
And I truly believe it'll take us to a whole nother level within our businesses and just constantly, again, data driven.
Well, you can make smarter decisions.
Yeah. And that, but the struggle in that was like, the last thing I want to do is go dive into expenses.
Totally.
It's super boring for me and my brain just turns to mush.
Yep.
And, we've always made it work, right? But it's also like, it's just organized chaos. So I am excited to start putting that in front of us, like on a weekly, monthly basis, to where you and I, Stacy, can look at like all of our expenses, like the direction we're going. Are we spending money where we shouldn't? Or should we be spending money in places we're not right now to increase revenue, to help our agents grow? The big thing is helping agents produce more too.
Totally. By giving them smart data, they'll be able to, be intelligent, be strategic, and then sometimes they don't even realize, like, we'll use Google, for example. Maybe they were working with Google and they didn't realize their conversion was as great or as successful, or maybe they need to spend a little more time on it.
Yeah. When it's good and you don't realize it, you're like, wow, this is like going really well for me. I should probably go deeper with this, and really, gives them a little bit extra boost to go and work out just a little bit harder even to convert more.
Which I think is like, I think it makes a lot of sense. But I think one thing that I thought about when you were talking was a real estate agent that's been doing real estate for a while, 3 years, 5 years, 8 years. We've been seeing a lot of struggles with agents that are not changing, pivoting, or adapting to the current conditions. With the interest rates being at 7 or 8%, it requires a lot more work. And it's tough for a real estate agent to admit that when they've been doing it for a few years, because they're like, been there, done that. I know what I'm doing.
Yep.
What do you think is the biggest struggle right now for a real estate agent that's been doing it, we'll say 5 years? So a little bit before COVID, and now we're out of COVID, obviously, after a couple of years. But like, what do you think the biggest struggle is right now for
discipline?
Yeah.
Discipline. I think that's my biggest struggle. Even like, as a on a real estate agent's level, like, you might think, like, we all get caught in this where you're going 100 miles an hour, and we all get caught up in the busy work, right? And then you really look back, and if like you really were to analyze like what you did in a day, you'd probably be terrified.
Yeah, you'd be upset with yourself.
Yeah, what you actually got accomplished, like dollar producing activity. obviously you have to take care of your clients. That's number one, because then in turn that will result in better business, happier clients, more referrals down the road. But you got to make sure you're following up on that. And that's one thing. I mean, I have a ton of unread text messages, but I tend to, I will reply to my wife, my kids, and then my clients, and then my agents, and then everyone else, unfortunately, does get pushed off.
Aside.
And it's not intentional. It's just I've trained my brain. I always want to make sure my clients are getting taken care of, because I know like that has helped my business, right? But even me, like if I think of like as on a basic level of like hitting the phones, like, okay, I hit the phones for 2 hours. And if I really track of like how many contacts did I really make, I know I wouldn't be happy with the number of contacts I made in that 2 hours, whether it was I was over analyzing who I was calling, how I was calling, what I was going to talk to them about, whatever it might be. I just overanalyze it, when in reality, like I should have just dove in, started having these conversations, because they all end up turning out to be pretty good conversations.
Well, sometimes you analyze all the data and then they don't answer the phone.
Yeah, totally. And it's like, gosh, I just wasted 10 minutes looking at that when I could have just dialed it and started up the conversation.
But it does give you an advantage when you know what you're talking about.
Yeah, no.
So there is that too.
Yeah, but I think like, I think the struggle is, again, over-analyzing that. The discipline behind it is, I mean, in all these gurus, and, John Sheplak's the king of it. And that's why, again, I've always had massive respect for him. Alex Hormozi, I mean, if you follow a lot of these people, like the biggest thing that they do really well, Ryan Serhant, he even made a post too long ago, and you got to respect the guy. Like he's a workhorse, but he does the same thing every single day. John Sheplak does the same thing every single day. Whether, whatever that routine is, like, I'm not saying you got to wake up at 4 for everyone, but like they do the exact same thing every single day. But it's the boring, mundane stuff that is boring, super boring. And I struggle with this because I have like, the ADD kicks in, you're chasing shiny objects, or you're going in all these different directions. Like, gosh darn it, if I just were to focus on, if I get these 4 things done in a day, it's a win.
Yep.
And then we overcomplicate it. And then the next thing you know, like, shoot, 3 weeks went by, 3 months went by, a year goes by, and you're like, gosh, if I just would have done those super basic, boring, disciplined things every single day, you would see huge, huge results. I mean, you can say with everything, with your diet, with getting outside. And, like one thing I try to focus on is get good sleep every night.
Yeah.
Right.
The older we get, the more important it is.
Yeah. And like making sure you're, like, I know you gave up drinking. I gave up drinking, and, like all these little things just add up and compound over time. It's like, gosh, like of how good you feel when it's just these small little decisions. Again, it's boring. It's the discipline behind it. And if we're talking about COVID, fast forwarding, agents that were used to just that easy fall in your lap, things were very easy because people were just buying out of pleasure because interest rates are at 3 to 4%. Well, now it's like a normalized market where you got rates at the 7%. Then it's also like, well, you can't do the same activities you were doing then. You can't even do the same activities you were doing before COVID.
True.
You have to, and now we have to, okay, instead of calling 20 people to gain 20 people a day to get yourself 3 sales a month, or whatever that, whatever your cookbook equation is, you might now need to call 60 people in a day to get those same amount of sales. And I think that's the disconnect that people aren't seeing, is you have to put in 2 to 3 times the amount of effort to get the same result as you were getting.
Exactly.
And that's where most agents are not putting that together.
Well, and the other thing to think about is real estate agents are actually getting paid more per transaction because home prices have gone up, right? They're based on the sale of the cost of the house. And if sales historically have gone up, let's say 5 years, 8 years, 10 years, they are making more, but at the same time, they're working harder. So they're getting paid less in their eyes. So they look at it and they go, well, and I got to make 60 calls instead of 20. It's like, okay, well, but this is to get you the result.
Yeah.
Right? Like you can't look at your per hour activity, because if you look at your per hour activity, most real estate agents will come up way behind compared to most careers. If they really factor it in, instead of, we'll just use easy numbers, 70 grand a year. If you make 70 grand a year as a realtor and you you broke it down, you're probably making 35 or 40 grand because you're working 60 to 80 hours a week or something like that. So it's just, and it's you're constantly driving in and out of places. You're constantly checking in with your clients at all hours of the day. And then you're constantly having to interrupt your dinners, your time with your family to go and show or to go follow up.
Yeah.
Right. And that takes time.
Yeah.
In most businesses, you don't have to do that. Most careers.
Yeah. I always joke, like, probably your average you can probably say this in a lot of careers, your average time spent on your job in a day is like what, 2 hours?
Yeah.
Like of actual work.
That's what I mean. That's the other thing that people don't understand is that they send a text message. They're like, oh, I just worked for the last 30 minutes. Well, they sent one text.
Yeah.
That takes a minute. Right. So it's trying to figure that out. And then some of the other things that you mentioned when it comes to struggles is making sure that agents understand to simplify things. We overcomplicate. And a lot of realtors will try to come up with the perfect email campaign, the perfect text campaign, the perfect calling rate, the perfect business card, like all these things that don't actually make any money.
Fluff stuff.
You like want to feel busy, right? But at the end of the day, the only thing that drives results is a call and a meeting in person.
Yeah.
If you can meet your clients in person, you're going to win. And the stats are there all the time. The problem is you want to set up all this fluff to make it look like you have everything together. But we know the most successful people, when they go, at least from a real estate agent perspective, when they go meet a client face-to-face, their chances of succeeding are a lot better than the perfect email, text, call, and business card.
Yeah. Well, I always think of that like for social media or like marketing material. Again, I'm not disagreeing that you should have good marketing. And I'm talking about marketing of yourself, not necessarily marketing of a property. I'm talking about marketing of yourself to get yourself out there. And again, not saying social media is not a great tool, not, even like whether it's marketing pieces of yourself. It's funny, like if you think of like previous agents or people that they'll always have like these outside opinions or opinions of like, well, you should be doing it this way. You should be doing that. Or I would always laugh like, well, we got these Briley team shirts. Like you should have coffee cups. And remember, we did coffee cups.
Yep.
And then, well, we need to have
pens.
We need to have pens, and we need to have coasters, and we need to have this and that and this. It's like, gosh, like if you were to spend as much time just on picking up the darn phone versus the amount of time you spend thinking of the research and the fluff stuff, like you probably would have made 10 more sales.
Totally.
And I don't know, maybe I'm a little old school with it, but like, again, it's picking up the phone, having the rejection calls, because you will get rejected, and being okay with that. Like that to me statistically will always outperform someone that's just constantly trying to think of the new fluff stuff.
Yep.
I'm not saying there's not a time and a place for that. And I do know there's people that are really good with social media. I am not good with my social media. I'm not consistent with it. I don't share enough. And it's one thing that I thought I wanted to get better at. Even like the mass emails, like that was something that, even John likes, like, you need to have a good system for that. And I just realized it's not my expertise. So
It's not your passion.
It's not my passion. So I did put it down on the totem pole on things that I wanted to try. I had every good and positive intention to try to get that stuff done, but I realized like, I guess just me being disciplined and making sure I'm making the certain number of phone calls, connecting the certain number of people on a daily basis, that for me is how I win.
Yeah.
And so it's
like
what's your few things that you have to focus on to do it? And I do think everyone's different.
No, they are. I mean, look at, like you mentioned at the start of the podcast, we were interviewing financial analysts. We realized we're not passionate, excited about numbers, right? And one of our struggles was like realizing like, hey, you know what? We can do all the math. We can figure out ROI and return and sales and profit. We can figure all that out. But why would we want to spend 3 or 4 hours when somebody can do it in 15 minutes that's intelligent and smart?
Yeah.
So that was a struggle that we had, was just realizing we've got too big a businesses to allow this to continue to happen. And if we want to continue to grow the businesses, we got to be smart financially so we can plan and forecast. That's what I'm the most excited about, is like the forecasting. But what I was going to say on the real estate perspective is, and this isn't really a new thing, I would say, but a lot of agents, salespeople that I've met in the field that have been interviewing, they struggle with making phone calls. They prefer to text, and they'll be the first to say, well, look, everyone texts. Look, I got a text back. They won't call me back, but they'll text me back. I get that. We're not saying don't text, but the point is, like, the only way to develop a human connection where we can feel and see their emotions is to make a phone call. Like an example was last week I was talking to a realtor and I sent them a text message. They interpreted it incorrectly. They thought I was saying one thing. So they were a little bit upset with me. And then I called them and they're like, hey, like, why did you say this and that? I'm like, okay, well, reread that text. Oh, I'm sorry. I misunderstood you, right? Like my point is a text message is fine, but in order to create a human connection, we got to make calls.
Yeah.
So that's kind of been a struggle lately too, is not necessarily just with younger generation, but it's just literally people would rather text than call. There's nothing wrong with that. That's great. At the end of the day, the only thing we're going to find is if we win face to face in real estate, don't complicate it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep. Yeah. So again, the discipline in it and really fine tuning and figuring out like your schedule that works well for you.
Yeah.
Like even like, okay, again, I'm not a big believer in like work-life balance, but also like making sure like there is the discipline behind like, okay, I got to get this many phone calls in. I have to get my workout in. I have to make sure I'm spending X amount of hours with my kids, whether that's homework or throwing the ball or whatever.
Sure.
Build all that in. I'm not a big time blocker like you. I think I just have these tasks in my head that I know I got to get done. And I just know, okay, during this day, I'm going to get those done.
Like I'd rather time block.
Yeah. Like you would rather time block. And then also the other thing too, that John had said that he's been pushing on is like detaching from your goal. And then again, it goes back to just focusing on your daily tasks. Like you set your goal, you've thought about your year goal, your 3-year goal, your 5-year goal. Okay, you set it, but you formulated your boring daily task to hit that. And then you forget, you don't even focus on your goal. You revisit it like maybe once every 3 months or whatever your time frame is. And then like, okay, by doing this every single day, I will hit that. But really detaching from that too.
Well, I think another struggle, like you just said, is realizing you're not a time blocker, I am. And I think sometimes we read a book or we talk to someone and we're like, I'm going to follow that morning routine. But unless you want to do it, you ain't going to do it, right? It's just like you had all the intentions in the world to do emails and marketing and social media, but you realize like, that's not what I want to do. You're not going to be able to just like force and change who you are if you're not passionate or excited about it either, right? And you can't change who you are either. It's like so many places will try to tell you to focus on your weaknesses and make those, something you're not doing well in. To me, I think focus on your strengths. As long as your weaknesses aren't deadly, harmful, things that are going to take away from your ability to be successful, you need to go deeper on your successes and your strengths and then minimize any negative things that will impact your business, right? Like if you know you're not the most organized human being possible, instead of investing all your time and energy to get better at organization, I would rather have you make phone calls a little sloppy. And then even if you did a sticky note or a note on your phone, that's better than becoming a master at organization.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that's a struggle for people too, because they want to try to be something they're not. So that comes up a lot.
Yeah. And to go back on that, like so to give like tactical things here is like, how do you, I'm in this analysis or what is that? Paralysis by analysis mindset. And, that could last for months and months and months and you have every intention of getting out of it. But again, like you said, like figuring out like the negative things in your life, whether it's a toxic relationship, it's for me, I bring up alcohol a lot because I do think that's like a big hindrance. I mean, don't get me wrong. I loved having a good old fashioned and a cigar. Yeah. But I realized like, this is not the best thing for me to perform well the next day or coming days. There's always a fog, surrounding that. And now for me, it's like sugar. Like I'm trying to cut sugar, which is a struggle for me because I love sugar.
Yeah, me too.
But that is again always trying to figure out how to operate effectively. So how do we like, the crazy thing is like I'm an avid note taker.
Yep.
And which then that is paralyzing me. And so that's another thing I'm struggling with too. So sugar and over note taking, and where it's like, it's just like, okay, I did this today. You acknowledge it. It worked for that in that moment. You don't shame yourself you're just acknowledging, okay, I did that. That's where I was, but this is like the new decision. And then just, okay, today I'm going to do this. like your disciplined thing. You're doing it. At the end of the day, you're like, okay, I got that stuff done.
Yep.
The next day you wake up like, I'm going to do that. Like, cause that yesterday that served me well. That was effective.
Yep.
And even if you don't get anything from it, but like I did the things I said I was going to do, and don't break those promises with yourself. And then, you do it again, and then just take it day by day. And every day you do that thing, like then you look back, you're like, it's such a nice relief. So I think there is a space of like, not like, making sure you're not shaming yourself for your past stuff, and just know that, okay, I'm going to control this now moving forward to the best I can. Now you will fall off, but it's just how fast are you getting back on that train track to do those daily things.
Yep. Well, and there's hundreds of productivity apps out there, right? Like I'm using one right now, Tick, which is one that builds habits, right? And you can put any habit in. Mine was drinking water, right? Because I struggled to drink water. So 4 times throughout the day, my watch comes on, says time to drink your water, right? It's simple, super easy, right? But when I swipe the water thing, a little confetti pops up and I drink water.
Do you use it right now?
Yeah, I'm using it right now.
It's effective.
And the other thing I'm doing is I added meditation, and then I added go to bed on time, right? So now a little thing pops up at 8:30 and then at 9:30, and it says start to wind your day down, right? So then it's like, okay, something's, again, it doesn't have to be anything crazy. I'm more of like an app guy, if you will, to help my change of habit. So same with meditation. At 11:30 and 12:30, something comes up on my watch and says, would you like to meditate for 10 minutes? And then you can do, some music or breathing, right? Obviously, whatever. But my point is, like, there is a habit building app out there that literally will have anything you could imagine. And all you have to do is just put in something small. Like I started with water, meditation, bed early, and you can start to, like you said, build out a plan. I think the problem is most people, they set this goal. Let's just say I want to drink 20 gallons of water, or I want to meditate 2 hours a day, or I want to go to the gym, I want to gain weight or lose weight, right? Like we set huge goals. The problem is it's the baby steps that get there. Like you're talking about the boring, mundane things. And this is something I would think about is there's 3 different people that are in your life when you run your own business. There's a lieutenant, which is the person that sets the goals, the big dreams, the big ideas, right? You should be that person maybe once a month or once a quarter, okay? Set time in I'm a time blocker, but set time on your calendar, and it's called your lieutenant goal hour, 2 hours. Set everything up, and then the second person you report to is your general. So the general will look at the lieutenant, and let's say it's to do 20 open houses, sell $10 million, and call 100 clients a week, whatever, right? Big goals. And then the lieutenant is the one that tells that person, right? And then you're going to go through and you're going to look at what the lieutenant told me to do. And now you lay out all the baby steps. So that is
the foot soldier stuff.
Yep, the foot soldier stuff. So that's the third person. But you're going to set time aside to be the general, and you're going to look and you're going to say, okay, I'm going to make 50 phone calls a day from 9 to 11. I'm going to do 2 open houses a week. I'm going to set those up on Tuesday at 9:30 to 10 a.m. And I'm going to, let's say for the selling of the houses, I'm going to talk to 5 clients a day, right? Let's just say it's that, right? Again, you can do this with anything in your life, anything at all. So, and then the third and final thing is the person that is the actual foot soldier doing the work. When you start your own business, there's the problem that people struggle with is you're an employee at an employer, say at a bank, and they say, go do this, go do this, go do that. And you're like, okay, yeah, absolutely, I can do all that. When you start your own company, the problem is there's no employer telling the employee what to do. So most people, like you said, they get lost in the sauce. They don't know where to get started. Therefore, they do nothing. They want to do everything. Therefore, they do nothing, and they shame themselves. The problem is start with small. I'm going to make 30 minutes of calls a day. That's it, from 9:30 to 10. I'm going to only do that. I'm going to turn off my entire world on my phone. And then let's say, like I mentioned, Tuesdays, I'm going to make my setting up the open houses on Tuesday, right? And then I'm going to do 5 contacts a day. Let's just say I grab my phone book. I'm going to call 5 people and tell them I'm in real estate, I'm in insurance, I'm in mortgage, and just say, hey, I just got into real estate. I'm brand new. And I would, like to see if I could help you out. Do you have anybody interested? Or, like get your spiel. But my point is you could do those tiny little things by a lieutenant, a general, and a foot soldier. You could do employer-employee relationship. You could do a time block. But like to Adam's point, keep it super simple and small. And that's the only way that we have found, at least for our employees and realtors and business owners, is small things like a snowball will get bigger. The problem is shaming yourself because you only made calls for 35 minutes and you want to do 4 hours, but you've never made calls a day in your life.
Yeah.
So hopefully that kind of made sense. Hopefully I kind of wrapped that up. But those are some tactful stuff that you could use too, that I use, and I try to teach realtors, LOs, and insurance agents, at least our businesses. I try to tell them what we have learned through all of our coaches.
Yep. Isn't the general above the lieutenant?
Could be.
Yeah.
You can see, like, I made that up on the, right? That's what I call it. Lieutenant, general, and foot soldier. You can call it whatever you want. I'm not in the military.
Isn't the general is general, lieutenant, and a foot soldier, if you want to call it that.
And if you're looking for military, that's not me.
Yeah, you guys get the point.
You get the point, right? You can call yourself whatever you want. The captain, right?
Captain's in there too. Yeah, captain's in there.
Yeah. So whatever you want to call yourself. But to me, there's 3 tasks, and we did learn that from a coach in the past.
Yep.
Is your 3 hats you put on.
Yep. Yeah, I like that. Even like I like the simple, even when you're talking about doing your task on a daily basis, like just set time limits on it. And like I have a few of them around my house. I got one in my gym. I got one in my ice plunge area.
Like it's like a cube or something?
Yeah, it's like a little circle dial, and you set the time, and it's your, like my cube or my ice plunge. I get in there for 4 to 5 minutes. So I set the little timer. Okay, I got out of there. If I know, like, okay, I'm going to prospect for 90 minutes right now, set the timer, and no matter where you're at in that 90 minutes, you're done and you go on your next thing. Not say you can't come back to it. I mean, that's another thing. Another agent in the past is like a Mike Ferry thing, is like it's 25 contacts that day.
Yep.
And you do not stop until your 25 contacts have been done for that day.
That's really common.
Yeah. So then it doesn't matter how long it takes. If it takes you an hour, great. If it takes you 5 hours, well,
I mean, we know agents at the office that sell in the top 5% in the city, and they still do that today. I see them at the office sometimes. I'm like, what are you still doing here? It's just sometimes where I'll have career night, and they're there at 5:30, 6 o'clock. They're the only one left, and they sell a lot of real estate.
I kind of laugh at 5:30 or 6. Like that was like, I mean, when you start the first 5-7 years, you're there till 8 or 9.
Oh, totally. Now if you're there past 4, it's odd.
Yeah.
But that's
the other thing too, is like, has the work effort just gone down with everyone? I don't know that.
Well, I think the other thing to think about too is, and this goes, I think today, and Koby kind of opened our eyes, what is the most important thing in your life, right? It's probably your family, religion. You hope those are your pillars in your life, right? Like, and you, of course, you want to have nice things, and you want to have money, and you want to do all these things. But if you're a workaholic, I think that like gets a bad rap, is if you're a workaholic, you don't get to enjoy it, right? So like, we're not saying that. What we're saying is, my thing, we said this today in the interviews, is like, I would rather have you enjoy your job, so it's something you do, let's say every day from 5 to 7:30, which is what I do. I like to spend time with my girls, put them to bed, talk to them, right? Read to them. Maybe it's working on an exercise or a project. There's times where I won't do things at my office, so I'll set it aside till they go to bed at 8:30, and then I do it. I have no problem doing that. I don't consider it work-life balance because now I prioritize my girls from 5 to 8:30.
Yep.
So that's great work-life balance.
I know when I text you during those times, you won't text me back
I try not
until later in the night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just, so that's why it gets a bad rap, is if people think like, oh, today, my family, I want to travel, I want to see the world. That's the most important thing, which you can still do that if you time block or if you use your time efficiently.
Yeah.
And that's what the biggest thing is, like we learned from John, is if you made let's say your cold calls, and he does meetings or one-on-ones or coaching calls. He does his coaching calls, let's say from 9 a.m. till 1 p.m. and he just does it like around the clock. He makes enough money during 9 to 1, let's say, where he doesn't need to work past 1. I don't know his schedule. My point is like, that's an example.
Yeah. The other thing too is totally different, but I was talking to, so I learned this from Colin Schwartz. He owns a lot of doors. I highly respect him. I mean, the guy, what he's done in a pretty short while is very impressive. Like the discipline behind what he does is insane. But he's big on like, taking care of yourself, taking care of your body, right? And so like, it's funny, like I was like, hey, let's get together. He's like, hey, I'll get together with you, but I'm not going to go do like a breakfast or a lunch meeting. Come do a ruck with me. And I'm like, all right, cool. So I went over to his house, like it was early morning, went on like an hour-long ruck, and then we swam in the lake, got some laps in, did a plunge, and we just talked shop, and so that was kind of something I've incorporated. Like I just, Amanda and I went on a little,
Oh yeah.
I went on a ruck with her
Yep.
and her and I just talked, and we're outside getting the sun on our face, and like, and you know, it's amazing the connection that you can get. And it's like a stress reliever too. Josh Bundren and I did that too. And like what I've gotten, and I do these hikes with a group of guys, with my jiu-jitsu buddies, either Saturday or Sunday mornings. And it's always great. Like once I leave that, like how good you feel, because like you've released some pressure. You've been able to talk through things. So I think also having like a group of people where you can like go do these, like go on a walk, walk and talk, like talk shop, and you know, you feel good. You're doing things. You're not eating this heavy lunch and you feel like crap afterwards. And it's crazy to me what now that I've been doing this, like how ideas almost even flow better too.
Well, think about, not to stop you, but think about when we go hiking with John's group.
Yeah.
We learn more on that hiking sometimes than we did at the event.
Yeah, you're right.
Right?
It's amazing, like how, I don't know, it's something with like you doing physical activity and then talking, like how your ideas just
like you're all struggling together and you're sweating and you're all like, you know what I'm saying? Like
struggling together.
Yeah, you're like, oh, what's on your mind? Like it's just, I don't know, it just comes out.
Yeah, that has been really big and positive for me, and then plus like it embraces or encourage you to like live a healthier lifestyle.
Yeah.
I think that's one thing I'm bigger on now than I ever was. It's probably because, you know, I'm 38. Is again focusing on good sleep, really paying attention, doing my best to pay attention to what I'm putting in my body. Again, I got the sugar issue going on right now. But like that, like it just makes everything else just flow so much better. And then then you can just accomplish your daily boring tasks that much better.
Well, and think how many times John would say at his conferences that like your biggest thing holding you back from your life is your physical health, and usually it was alcohol.
Yeah.
And I was like, this guy's crazy. What is he doing? Like,
yeah.
The biggest struggle I have right now is my realtors, right? Like, and he's like, it's not. It's your brain is not ready the next day because you drank like a fool that night. And now you have brain fog and you're slowing down and you're doing all, and I was like, John, that doesn't make any sense, but it does.
Yeah. The other thing too, and I got the squirrel ADD kicking in hardcore right now, but the other thing too that I've talked to a number of people, and I'm not going to say who, but I've had these talks over the last couple of years, you know this, is people that are starting to really struggle with anxiety.
Oh, yeah.
Like hugely. And I went down, I mean, you know this, like when was that, 3-4 years ago?
Yep. Yeah, about 3-4.
I don't know what it was. I thought I was having heart attacks. Like, I don't know what it was, but like I started having like, I chalked it up, you know, after a few ER visits and doctor visits, like it's anxiety. I'm like, no way. Right. And I think we talked about this briefly.
Yes.
But also like that is a huge hindrance. Where really like going deep with that and like talking to people, like being okay talking about like, yeah, this is what I'm struggling with, and like talking through it. It's amazing because that's a struggle. That's like, that will hinder you. You might have a 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 year. I mean, technically I had a 15-year or 14-year awesome streak, and then something hit me, something blew up, and it like literally shut me down, and I was coasting and like a zombie going through things. I got on medication for 9 months because of it. It was so bad. But now, like fast forward, I'm not on anything. I can process where I'm at and how I'm feeling. And it really does help you perform and function at such a better level. I mean, that's a whole nother topic, but like that is something that is a real thing that I think many people deal with. Because after I started sharing it, like, you know, it was multiple people started coming to me like, hey, I know you've talked about this. Like, I'm actually dealing with this right now too. Yep. And I kind of give my story and where I went, and it's just crazy how that can be such a hindrance. And then if you don't get it addressed, it snowballs into something really bad, and it will shut you down.
Yeah.
So then,
well, and doctors didn't know what it was either.
Yeah, no.
You know what I mean?
Well, yeah. I mean, what causes you anxiety? I mean, you don't really know it in the moment, and
you're just like, I'm having a panic attack. I'm having a heart attack. I might die.
Yeah,
essentially.
Yeah, and just recently, I'm talking the last like 2 weeks, I've had now like 4 conversations with people that are like really struggling with anxiety, and I think it's a big thing. I think it's something that people do struggle with, and that's another struggle that people will deal with. And it's generally high performers.
It is
what I've noticed. And you don't ever want to admit that as a high performer, because you're like, you look at it as a sign of weakness. But that is another struggle that I definitely see. I mean, that's a deep topic, but
maybe we'll talk about it again next time.
Yeah, that's I don't know, that's kind of something that's like means something to me, because I went through it and it was just like, oh wow, that's a gut wrench, and I hate to see other people go through that too. That can be a struggle.
Well, and I'm sure like my mind goes to like, something like, oh, it's not a big deal. It's something you can control. It's literally out of your control. You don't know what it is you're freaking out, you're panicking, you don't know what to do. So sometimes you're throwing drugs at it, you're drinking, you're doing whatever it may be,
trying to
right?
camo
like,
it.
You're trying to take care of it, and it's just like it mass over something else, and I think that's not good.
Yeah,
well,
it
was like eating. You felt like you would eat, and then you'd be like, oh, I'm overeating or something. Right? Remember that?
Yeah. Like there's the whole topic around shaming yourself too is like another thing. And again, this is all, everything's intertwined. That's why I never believe in like work-life balance, because everything's so intertwined. I do think there's times where you got to go really hard on the work side to get to where you need to go. And then there's times where like, okay, my family life is suffering.
Yeah.
So now I got to swing back and go over that. The one thing.
Like a pendulum.
Yeah, like a pendulum. The book, The One Thing, I think is a good book for that too. And just, you try to stay as close to the middle as you can, but there are times where you swing on either side. That's another thing too. I think the reason why I'm bringing it up is like, hey, these are all things to process, right? These are all things like that could be affecting you. You don't really realize it, and it hinders you. It can shut you down, and you don't realize it's shutting you down. And it's can be debilitating, just like right.
Well, you're talking about like your inner self-talk. Most people's inner self-talk is the worst, the most negative, right? Just like a simple thing to think about is you look in the mirror and you see flaws, others that don't necessarily see it, right? Like people all look in the mirror, or I ask our agents all the time to do selfie videos. They're like, I don't like what I sound like. I don't like what I look like. And it's like, that's because you're your toughest critic.
Yeah.
So you have to know yourself. And some people, if they increase their self-talk in a positive way, they'll actually be more productive, more successful, and be better off. Some people need it to actually fuel their fire, right? Like you don't want to like boost their ego because it actually makes it worse and they fall off track. So I'm not saying everybody needs to do that, but most people need to fix their inner self-talk, which is a whole other topic. But
yeah, but
another struggle.
It's all tied. It's all tied in together. Yeah, and most people won't openly go talk about it because again, they look at it as a sign of weakness and they want to put out this fluff. That's probably why I don't go on social media and do too much of that stuff, because I'm like, what am I going to post? Like my cool house? That's kind of like it's like a pride or ego thing. Like I don't feel good about that. Like,
or like your food. I never understood that.
Yeah, or like I just again, there's the good things in all this stuff, but like,
of course,
I just sold all these houses, like, but that's me overanalyzing.
Yeah.
Houses buying houses.
Yeah, it's like, I'm overanalyzing. What should I post? What should I not post? What should I do? It's like,
so, dang it.
The struggle is real, and it doesn't matter who you are or what level you're at. Again, we have people that are 19 years old, starting their own business, and literally have no clue what they're doing, and they're struggling. And we have people in their 50s or 60s that are struggling too. So it's not an age thing. It's not this is where you're at in your life, and you're going to find struggles the whole way along your life. Because one thing that I struggle with is I don't like sleep personally. I don't like it. And my body is changing.
You're like weird.
Well, my body's changing and it's requiring more sleep. And I'm like in this inner struggle, and I have been for the last couple of years, probably a year or two, where I only want to sleep 4 hours, but I'm not as successful for the first hour or two in the morning if I don't get enough sleep. So it's like I'm trying to figure out how can I be more efficient in the time that I have and give my brain more than 6 hours. That's a whole nother topic. But I think we should wrap it up, and we should say, if you're struggling with this, or this is resonating with you, or you're connecting on what we're talking about, we would love to hear feedback. I mean, feel free to reach out to us. I mean, mention something in the comments, shoot us an email. You can get all of our information.
I would even like to bring someone on and talk about that too, like in a deeper point of that too.
Yeah.
So
if there's someone that reaches out and wants to even be on the podcast,
even like more of a business, like, hey, we're struggling with this. Like, that's our thing too. Is like I know I have all this knowledge inside of me.
We just got to get it out of you.
It's hard to get it out, and then sometimes we go in all these different directions too. So it's kind of obviously we can go really deep with every single little topic. But
and the cool thing is about running a business on the real estate side is if you Google our names and numbers, it's out there, right? Our email addresses are out there. Again, if you want to comment or throw something, we would love to talk to somebody about struggles or where they're at with their business. And again, don't be afraid to be vulnerable. Vulnerability is a hidden secret. When you're vulnerable with employees and people and staff and everyone around you, you actually will accomplish more than somebody who is short, difficult, acting with a big ego. People will rub themselves, like it'll rub you right out of success. It really will. Now, it doesn't mean that happens to everybody, but the majority of people that we know will rub themselves. And we could say realtors that have left our team and are not as successful because they have massive egos. So I promise you, when you're vulnerable, you will be very successful.
Yeah.
So don't struggle with that.
Yeah. I mean, it's just a real topic and people appreciate it. And yeah, I think it's good.
Yeah. So appreciate you all stopping by. If you're still listening, we'd love to hear from you.